Okay, so today, this video is going to show you how to bind your sketchbook using what's called a blanket stitch. This blanket stitch is a really strong method of sewing over the edge of something to make it nice and clean, and it's also a little bit decorative. You will have the option, you have way more string than you need, so if you would like to add a little decorative like doodad, a bead, a tail with some knotted on it, whatever you want to do, you can do. Just remember, if you add something, you want it to be far enough away from the book itself that when we open it, like there's a bead here, it'll be too hard to draw on that page. I have to be able to pull this out of the way so that it's not underneath, so we can use both sides of our paper if we want to. So you can see it does fold nicely, and this is my finished one. So let's see how it works. You will need, a helpful thing to have is actually a pair of scissors and some tape. So if you have those, I would suggest grabbing them. Otherwise, you're going to get the string out of your art kit. Everyone got a green string. If you would like to use something that's not the green string, say you have a ribbon or some yarn that you like at home, use whatever it is you want to use, but you need about this. You'll see how much extra I have left over. You're going to need a fair amount to do it. Make sure that it's untangled. And I'm actually going to prepare this. So I've got two lengths side by side. It's all untangled so that I have a loop on this side. I'm going to take my two ends now and I'm going to just secure them with some tape. It's going to make it a little easier for me to sew what we're doing. So I'm taking the tape, I'm folding it over the edge, and then I'm going to just kind of tightly wrap it a little bit. I'm using a little extra to make it a little stronger, but I don't want it too thick because I have to make sure I get through all those overlapping paper holes. Cut off the extra. So tape, if you've got it, really helpful. If you don't have the tape, you can use one of the Post-it notes. Use a sticky note and wrap it around that way too. All right, so now, next step is we're gonna grab our papers. You have a whole bunch of papers that are single sheets with holes already cut in them. They might not line up perfectly, but try to keep them as aligned as you can. You also have one piece of paper that is folded. We're gonna use this folded paper for the cover. So you're gonna take your stack of single thickness. I'm just gonna stick my papers up in the inside there. And again, if it doesn't line up super great, turn it, see if the other direction works better. And again, you might just have enough of a hole to work with, and that's fine. So we're gonna take, to get started, we're gonna take the end that we taped up and we're gonna pass it up through the back. And then we're going to go through, again, I'm untwisting it so it's not all tangled. We're going to go through this loop. And that's going to secure it, make a first securing stitch. So it's actually kind of, it's a hitch, it's locked on there. Now again, we're always going to go up through the back. So we're going to pass up through the back to the front. And then the way that this little line is going to continue to happen is we're going to go, instead of just going to the next hole on the side here, we're going to go through this loop. So under this long stitch, and then tighten it. And now we have that nice blanket stitch happening. So again, up through the back. See how easy it is to poke through with the tape? Please use the tape. Save yourself a lot of frustration. And then once it's there, back through that little long stitch. Oops. Give it a nice tighten. It's helpful to tighten as you go. So I'm kind of tugging next to the stitch line. Back up through the back. And you can see I actually just went right through there before I even tugged. So as you get more familiar with this motion, it'll be easier for you to keep stitching it. All right, one last stitch up through the back and pass under that long stitch right behind it. Now here's the fun part. You have all this extra here. So you can do whatever you want with this extra. I do suggest that you tie off and secure this part before moving forward though. So we basically have to knot the thread. So you can pass through the stitch you just made and like just tie a knot onto itself. So I'm going to go under this bottom part, and before I slide it through the last time, I'm going to make sure I tug it nice and tight. And voila. Should not go anywhere now. And you'll have a little bit of looseness. It's not going to be perfectly tight. These are long stitches, that's okay. But that is the basic blanket stitch. So think about what you could do with this tail. You could go back in, you could do a zigzag, you could figure out a creative way to make patterns along it. You can separate these and knot them or braid them. You could do anything you could just trim them nice and neat and be done, but you have this extra length so you can do what you want with it. All right, happy stitching.